Hey honey buns, and what is up? Let's turn a pair of jeans into a cute cropped puffer. Grab your scissors. Honey Bun TV. Okay, honey buns, everything you're going to be needing is going to be listed in the description box below. But as you can see here, you are going to be needing between 2 to 3 pairs of jeans, as well as a zipper that is a heavy metal jacket zipper. You are going to be needing about 1.5 yards for the interior, and you are going to also be needing some polyfill. Now, I'm going to say for the interior, you can either use some fleece and or satin like I have, and or you can just leave it at fleece. The third layer is optional. And of course, I got extra scraps, okay? The first thing I'm going to do here is I'm literally just going to be taking everything off these jeans and putting the excess scraps and fabric to the side that is not needed. And then I'm going to start by cutting the jeans down the side. After I'm finished with my first pair of jeans, as you can see, I cut them down the side and I opened them. I also went ahead and cut the waistbands off because I had a vision to literally just, you know, put extra doings on the coat. So I cut those to the side just in case for later on when it comes to designing. Now, I'm going to get started by cutting every piece that I need for this jacket, which is of course our arms. We are going to need the front panels, I like to call them, and we are going to need the back panels. So the fattest part of this is going to be used for my front and my back, and the smallest portion of these jeans is going to be used for my arms. And you'll see that later, as you can see me here literally starting to cut out the pieces that we are going to need. As you can see here, I'm just identifying that these two pieces are going to be for my arm, and then I'm going to go ahead and get started by cutting out all the pieces that I need. I also forgot to add in that you are going to be needing to cut out a collar. If your jacket pattern ensues that, then yes, but if not, you don't have to worry about that. My jacket pattern, you will need to cut out a collar. So that is what I am going to be doing after I finish cutting out my extra pieces and sorting my scraps. I do plan to put a pocket on one side for my jacket, but I'm trying to decipher and figure out what I want to do to give the jacket a little bit of, you know, pizzazz. So as you can see here, I am looking at the back pockets and thinking, okay, maybe I should cut a pocket out and sew it on the front, but maybe I shouldn't. However, we'll see for later. So that is what I am literally doing right now. After I figure out all the pieces that I could use or give my jacket just a little bit pizzazz and extraness, I'm just going to go ahead and cut out this second layer. Now, in the beginning, I stated that it is totally optional if you want to do 3 layers. In this instance, we are going to be doing 3 layers, but if you don't want to do 3 layers, it is totally fine to just do a second layer, which is going to be this fleece. Now, I'm literally just going to take the pieces that I have cut out and I'm going to place them on a fold on top of this fleece, and I am going to cut the fabric just like that. Now, what you see me here doing in a trick for the future purposes, anytime you're cutting like a jacket or you're cutting like a dress that has a back and front, a lot of time you are going to cut it on fold. In this case, the back of our jacket is one big fat piece. So we do not need to cut 2 pieces at a time. We can literally get away with cutting it on a fold. However, when it comes to the jacket portion, the first panel and the second panel, as I like to call them, you are not going to cut that on a fold. Or if you want, you can cut it on a fold and cut it down the middle. It's totally up to you. But you see me doing that right here. I am literally just cutting 1 piece at a time. Now, after you pair everything together, I'm just showing you your third optional layer. This is what it's going to look like. Now, I'm using satin, okay? You don't have to use satin in this instance, but I paired everything together and sewed it down. After I show you how to pair everything together, we are going to sew it down and then move on to our next step of constructing the jacket, okay? In this case, this portion, this woven wool fleece, is going to be used as our second layer. Now, this doesn't really matter using right sides facing each other because all of the sides look the entire same. So you are just going to take those 2 front pieces, the front panel and the front left, the front side, and you are going to only sew the shoulder points down. As you can see me here doing, I'm going to glide my finger to show you where that shoulder is. But you are going to only sew the shoulder points down. You can also see here where I made a mistake and I cut the back a little bit bigger. That's totally fine. Baby, when you flip that thing over and you put them right sides facing each other or on top of each other on a fold, you can cut 1 piece and cut the excess off. No biggie. Now, I finished sewing. Here is the portion where I'm cutting the excess fabric off and making sure everything still aligns on a fold. The next step we are going to do here constructing our jacket is we are now going to sew our arm on. And as you can see here, I didn't have enough fabric before, so I had to sew my arm in 2 different pieces. But you are just going to take that seam that meets in the middle of your arm and you are going to meet the 2 ends of where your arm is on the jacket. As you can see me doing here, the 2 points, okay? After that, you are going to pin around that. Make sure you put as many pins as you can because you do not want this to slip in the machine, and this has curvature to it. So you want all the curves to be aligned on the point. After you get done pinning, you are going to take this to the sewing machine and you are going to sew from the middle to the end on both areas. So you're going to sew from the middle to the left, you're going to sew from the middle to the right. And I'm just going to show you what I mean by gliding my finger. From the middle to the end, or seam to the end, from the seam to the other end, okay? After we do that, we are going to move to the next step. Okay, honey buns, if you are like me in this instance where you are just trying to add a little bit of oomph to your jacket, then right here you can see me just picking apart pieces, trying to choose and place them where they should go on the jacket and how they should go on the jacket. Hey honey buns, as you can see here, after I decided what I was going to put on this jacket, how I was going to put everything on this jacket, I pinned it down and took it to the sewing machine to sew it on there for good. Okay, honey buns, as you can see here, I've inserted a pocket on the left side of my jacket, which I will be uploading a different video so you guys can see how to make a pocket and to put a pocket in a jacket. But right now, we are going to basically be making our casing so we can stuff our polyfill in between the lines. And I'm just going to show you how I determine how many lines I'm going to put on this jacket and how far apart they are going to be. Okay, honey buns, so I am literally going to be putting these lines on my jacket underneath where you can see the pocket and the little design that I made on the right side. This is approximately, I want to say 7 inches spread out from each other. So I'm going to use the same amount of inches for the back and the same amount of inches distance wide apart for my arms. So it's going to be 3 lines and they're basically going to be 7 inches apart. Well, really 2 lines in the front, 2 lines in the back, I'm sorry, and basically 3 lines on the arms, okay, just due to the length and stuff like that. Now, after I'm finished pinning and making my measurements, I'm going to take it to the sewing machine and I'm literally going to sew those lines across. Because the bottom of the jacket is not closed, you are also going to sew a line at the bottom to close it as well. Okay, what I am showing you now is what the lines look like. This is the red, and I'm showing you how I sewed the bottom on so it can make the casing, and now I'm showing you the arm side, and I'm going to show you the front. Now, this pocket came out incredibly cute, as you can see here, so I'm going to just push it back a little bit so when I get to stuffing as well as finishing it up, I will not make the mistake and sew that pocket space. Now, if you are doing a 3rd layer to kind of hide those lines, which is really not a big deal, then you are going to take that 3rd layer and you are going to place it right sides facing each other, meaning seams lined up but opposite of each other on top of one another, okay? So you're going to be placing that on top of your 1st layer, which is your exterior fabric. Okay, hold on. I got tongue tied for a minute. You're going to be placing that 3rd piece of fabric on your exterior layer. So after that, you are just going to sew around where you see that I have those lines pinned, and then you are going to bring it on up. Once you have brought everything to the forefront, everything is basically outside in properly, all you are just going to do is pin the bottom. You see where I'm pinning right here? That is because I am going to be sewing that red to the bottom to make sure that everything is closed around this jacket. Now, if you're not doing this 3rd layer, like I was telling you before, you do not have to worry about this 3rd part. As you can see me here doing, I am just literally making the bottom as flat as I can because we have sewed a portion on top and you don't want it to be bulky. So all I'm going to do is just make a straight stitch along that bottom line as well as the front. And if you're doing 3 layers, then you can see the jacket forming here and where you are going to be stuffing it at. But if you're not, then you are obviously going to be stuffing in that blue, okay? Now, the next step here is I am literally showing you guys what your heavy metal jacket zipper is supposed to look like to make sure it's the correct zipper. Most of the time, they'll have a gold color to them, but also the zipper will come apart and it'll also say heavy metal zipper. I'm showing you the inch that it has of extra zipper fabric, if that makes sense. And I just pinned it down. As you can see on that right zipper, you can see that it's green thread that I have pinned it down with. But on the left side, as you can see right here, all I did was flip it over. You can do it either way. Now I'm just going to sew the zipper on first, and then after that we are going to get ready to stuff the jacket. Now I've started with the left side stuffing, and now I'm just going to sew the right side all the way that I can. You don't want to stuff this too much like a jive turkey, but you want to stuff it just enough. So I would say you want to keep the handfuls of puffer, a literal handful, maybe one handful. You don't need 2 or 3, depending on how big your jacket is as well, but you really do not need that much because you don't want it to be too bulky when it gets to sewing. Okay, now that we have stuffed everything, we are going to bring the jacket together, and our last portion is going to be that collar. Now, as you can see here, we have the sleeve and then we have the front portion of your jacket. I'm lining the seams up under the armpit, and what you are going to do, the same way we did that arm in the beginning sewing, you're going to sew from the middle to the right, middle to the left, or middle to the end, middle to other end. Okay, the same method applies. So I'm going to go and sew this down and then come back. Then I have finished sewing everything together. As you can see here, this is my collar. Now I've only sewed the sides and one of the top pieces. You are going to leave this bottom open, as you can see me here doing, because once you flip it outward in, you are going to see the collar form. Okay, so as you can see here, my collar is formed, and what I am just going to do, which you can put your collar on many ways, but one of the methods that I do is literally just taking the collar and pinning it and sewing around. Now, it's important, honey buns, that you pin as many pins as you can for this top portion, because again, you do not want the collar to slip. And as you can see here, the top is a little bit bulky, so I don't want to make a mistake and miss anything. But of course, if you miss something, you can literally go right back and sew over it. So I am just quite literally going to sew over this piece, as you can see here, and then we are going to be done with our jacket. You see how fresh that collar looks? So cute. As you can see, I am showing you that my zipper still goes up and just getting the jacket ready for pictures. See you next week on Honey Bun TV _Honey Buns. Mwah.